Magneto has been many different things to many different people, with some calling him a villain, some calling him a hero, and some calling him Max, and some simply calling him Daddy. But what is his family history? Welcome to Top 10 Nerd. I'm Andrew Boyd, and today I will be attempting to explain Magneto's family tree. Before we begin, a small bit of housekeeping. Magneto's story obviously is one featuring a lot of oppression by the German forces during World War II. Due to YouTube and channel rules, I am not permitted to mention this group or its leader by name, as it would result in this video being demonetized. But I feel that it's important to clarify that that is why we are dancing around the terminology in this video, not because we want to diminish the blame this group deserves, but simply due to the rules of the platform we are on. And that is why you will not see me referring to certain groups by name. With that out of the way, let's dive into the genealogy of Marvel's Master of Magnetism, the first generation. Magneto was born Max Eisenhart. He grew up in Nuremberg with his family, who are all Jewish. We don't know anything concerning his lineage beyond his parents' generation, but his father, Jacob Eisenhart, was a member of the German army during World War I. He fought in the 1914 battle known as the Massacre of the Innocents. He was hit by mustard gas during this battle and stayed in a field hospital before being assigned the job of loading the deceased soldiers from the battle into mass graves. In 1916, he rescued a Bavarian major named Jürgen Scharf from enemy fire, pulling him into the relative safety of the trenches. For this heroic act, he was given a Commendation of Bravery and an Iron Cross medal. At some point, he married his wife, Edie, whose prior genealogy is a mystery. Jacob became a jeweler, building and repairing jewelry. Jacob ran the shop with the help of his little brother, Eric Eisenhart, who also lived with them. Eric was a carefree man who would often encourage Max to pursue the women he cared for, being known as somewhat of a charmer himself. This got him in trouble with the government when he hit on a non-Jewish woman. This put him in violation of the Nuremberg laws, which forbid Jewish people from interacting with other races. For this, he was severely beaten by a mob and forced to wear a sign that said he had shamed a German woman. After this incident, he tried to convince Jacob to move his family out of Germany, but Jacob thought that they would have a better chance if they stayed and figured out the rules, a decision they would later come to regret. The next generation. The next generation of the Eisenhart family consisted of Jacob and Edie's children, Max, who would grow up to be Magneto, and Ruth, his little sister. Max was allowed to go to school, but found it extremely frustrating, as any of his accomplishments were written off as cheating by the school faculty due to his Jewish heritage. The school's cleaning lady was a Romani woman named Anya with a young daughter named Magda, who Max had fallen in love with. He began trying to court her by making her a necklace out of scrap materials at his father's shop and winning a javelin throwing contest at the school. It is heavily implied that Max's ability to find materials for the necklace and throwing the javelin are the first unconscious manifestations of his mutant powers. Despite impressing Magda, he was accused of cheating, expelled from school, and beaten by the other children. Jacob finally realized how much danger the family was in, and they moved to Warsaw, Poland, where they were forced by the German forces to live in the Warsaw Ghetto. Max and his uncle Eric began working as smugglers, trying to bring food in for their people. Ruth had gotten extremely ill, and the Germans had begun rounding up the ghetto's residents and putting them on trains that would take them to prison camps where they would be exterminated. Max learned of this and informed his family, who managed to sneak out of the ghetto in hopes of escaping, having set up a meet with a woman named Celia who would guide them to freedom. Max's uncle Eric decided that he had nothing left to lose and chose to stay at Warsaw and fight the Germans. Max never saw him again, and he is believed to have been killed while fighting his oppressors. Their guide, Celia, led them away from the ghetto and into a forest where she betrayed them to the German forces, hoping to secure her own mother's freedom. The Eisenharts were rounded up along with other Jewish refugees, and they were by firing squad. At the last moment, Max's magnetic powers manifested, allowing him to slow the bullets down long enough for his father to push him out of harm's way, allowing Max to play dead and hide in the mass grave until the Germans left and he was able to escape. He was now the last living member of his family, as his father, mother, and sister had all been shot. Life in the camp. His freedom was short-lived, and he was soon captured, put on a train, and sent to Auschwitz prison camp. While there, he was made a Sonderkommando and was forced to gather the valuables of his fellow prisoners, lead them into the gas chambers, and then take their bodies to the incinerators. While there, he discovered that Magneto was alive and in the section of the camp designed for the Romani people. He dedicated himself to keeping her alive and used gold dug from the teeth of corpses to bribe the guards to get her extra food and supplies and to have her transferred to Ravensbrück camp before the rest of the Romani were liquidated. Little did he know that Ravensbrück was a camp where the prisoners were subjected to horrible experiments. However, before her train got to the camp, she was sent back to Auschwitz. She survived by hiding in a cart of bodies that Max was supposed to dispose of. That night, there was a revolt, and in the ensuing chaos, Max and Magda were able to escape. They eventually made their way to the Carpathian Mountains, where Max found work and the two were married. They soon had a child, who they named after Magda's late mother, Anya. Wishing to give his family a better life, Max moved his family to the Soviet-occupied Ukrainian city of Vinnytsia, where he worked in construction, rebuilding the city after the war. When his foreman tried to cheat him of his pay, he became aware of his powers for the first time, launching a crowbar through the air at the foreman. He returned to the inn he was staying at only to discover that it was on fire and his family was inside. He managed to save Magda with his newfound powers, but before he could go back in for Anya, local police arrested and beat him for assaulting the foreman. Anya perished in the fire, and in his rage, Max killed all the officers and the foreman with his powers. Magda was terrified, thinking him a monster, and ran away. Max changed his name to Eric Magnus Lenscher and tried to find Magda, but was unsuccessful. He went on to meet Professor X and later became the mutant leader known as Magneto. But what happened to Magda? In Avengers number 186, we learned that Magda was actually pregnant when she left Magneto and fled into the mountains, where she stumbled across one of the High Evolutionary's labs. She was met by Bova, a cow that had been evolved into human form. Bova nursed her back to health and acted as midwife, delivering her twins Wanda and Pietro. Magda left the twins, fearing that if she were alive, Magneto could force knowledge of the twins from her. She wandered off into the snow to die and was never seen again. The High Evolutionary then took the twins to a nearby Romani camp and left them to be raised by a man named Django Maximoff. Wanda and Pietro Maximoff would grow up to be Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, who would end up being members of Magneto's Brotherhood of Evil Mutants before eventually switching sides and joining the Avengers. Despite their shared history, it would be a long time before Magneto learned of his relation to the twins. Quicksilver would later marry the Inhuman royal family member Crystal, and together they had a daughter named Luna. Scarlet Witch would end up married to Vision and used her powers to create a pair of twin boys named Tommy and Billy, who ended up ceasing to exist only to be reincarnated as Tommy Shepard and Billy Kaplan. Normally, this would mean that I would have to go into detail on Vision's history and the Inhuman family tree, but actually, I don't, because Bova's whole story about Magda giving birth to the twins was later retconned to be, pardon the pun, bull. Wanda and Pietro were revealed to actually be the children of a woman named Natalia Maximoff. The twins had been kidnapped and experimented on by the High Evolutionary before being given to their uncle Django to raise. So, though he still thinks of the twins as his children, they are not actually related to Magneto. This does, however, beg the question, how did Bova know about Magda, and what really happened to her? Is she still alive out there? We don't know. So, does Magneto have any living children? Yes, actually. At some point in his life, Magneto had an affair with a woman named Susanna, which resulted in her getting pregnant and giving birth to a little girl named Lorna. Susanna was married to a pilot named Arnold, who believed Lorna was his, but when he discovered the truth, he confronted Susanna on a plane ride and the two got into a massive argument. Hearing her parents fight caused Lorna to have a meltdown and manifest her own magnetic powers, which caused her to accidentally crash the plane, killing Susanna and Arnold. The magnetic pulse drew Magneto to the crash site where he found Lorna. Realizing that he could not offer her a normal childhood, he had the mutant Mastermind wipe her memory of the events. Lorna was adopted by Arnold's sister and her husband, and she became Lorna Dane, otherwise known as Polaris. Polaris might also have a sister named Zala Dane. The High Priestess of the Petrified Man, who commanded an army in the Savage Land, claimed to be her sister. Zala has worked with the High Evolutionary and has fought against Lorna, the X-Men, and S.H.I.E.L.D. over the course of her career. We don't know for sure if she is really related to Lorna. If she is, we don't know if she is the child of Susanna or the child of Lorna's adopted parents. We therefore cannot say for sure whether or not she is related to Magneto. But But let's hope she isn't, as she was executed by the Master of Magnetism in Uncanny X-Men number 275. With that, we have explored every branch of Magneto's family tree. Please check out some of our other family trees, and also check out or rewatch my attempting to explain videos on Batman Nightfall and Daredevil Born Again, both of which have part 2s filmed, which will apparently not be released until the first parts get more views. In the meantime, leave us a comment below to let us know what other characters' family trees you'd like us to explore, and remember to like and subscribe for more Top 10 Nerd.